One teen is dead, another taken into custody.
It was definitely shocking.
Linden is not known for violent crime.
What police say about a violent clash between two groups in this quiet Utah County community.
Temperatures are on the rise the next couple of days, and our chance for rain also on the rise later in the week, when we'll see these monsoon storms making a big comeback.
Accusations of racism and favoritism cast a shadow on a Utah school district, with leadership divided. Tonight, the decision that was made as the public weighs in.
He calls it an existential threat to all Utahns.
It's a big concern.
A powerful Utah lawmaker sounds the alarm about the declining Great Salt Lake.
Gas prices are staying high in Utah despite falling nearly everywhere else. We wanted to know why. We'll show you what we found.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
We are following several big stories tonight. Mother Nature has been busy in northern Utah this evening, and a big development in the saga of the embattled Salt Lake City School District superintendent.
But first, we're tracking a developing story in Utah County of a 16-year-old's death in the town of Linden. Tonight, police say another teen is in custody in that case.
This happened near the Linden View trailhead of the Murdoch Canal Trail. Fox 13 News anchor Brian Schnee joins us live tonight from Linden. Brian, what have you learned?
Well, Bob and Kelly, good evening. Residents and police tell me this neighborhood is a pretty safe spot, relatively low traffic, with the exception of the people that are coming to this park and then, of course, using the Murdoch Trail, the Murdoch Canal Trail. But two groups met here early Monday morning where a violent altercation took place. Police would not specify what happened, but one person from one of those groups told a family member who alerted law enforcement of a serious injury. Police responded around 2:30 that morning. They found a 16-year-old who suffered traumatic injuries. The 16-year-old has since died from those injuries.
As a result of the group's meeting, a young man lost his life. And there's people responsible for those actions.
Today, police arrested a 16-year-old in connection to the death. Charges were not announced by Linden police. However, they anticipate potential charges for others who may have been involved. Neighbors we spoke with were pretty freaked out to hear what took place just outside of their doors.
I was very shocked and a little bit hesitant to go outside at night, obviously, and just knowing what had happened, I just felt a little bit unsafe.
Despite this active death investigation, police believe this was an isolated incident between the two groups. There's no concern for the public. They also wouldn't share how many were involved in the groups that were basically a part of this altercation, and they also really wouldn't specify on how things went down here. They mentioned that none of the people in those groups were physically from Linden themselves, but they do consider them local. We're live in Linden tonight. Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. We've had a lot of active weather in northern Utah tonight. And Allison, tell us what we saw.
Yeah, we had a severe thunderstorm warning that moved through Box Elder a few hours ago. Brought some brief heavy rains and brief gusty wind, and right now a beautiful sunset here in Salt Lake City with a live look from the Natural History Museum. We do still have a thunderstorm over the Great Salt Lake, which I'll show you in just a second, but it's 82 here in Salt Lake, 81 in Ogden, and 80 currently in Provo. Here across northern Utah, still tracking a thunderstorm over the Great Salt Lake. Into southern Utah, we had an aerial flood advisory for Cedar City earlier this evening. That was allowed to expire a few hours ago. A little bit of lightning just southeast of Capitol Reef. And we look at our temperatures for the overnight hours, and it'll be comfortable, close to 70 for much of the night here in Salt Lake City. And into tomorrow morning, we'll have those temperatures nice and comfortable for all of you when you wake up, with 60s and 70s here across the state. Wednesday at 6 a.m., about 65 in Provo, close to 70 for Ogden, close to 60 in Logan tomorrow morning, with additional chances for showers and thunderstorms into tomorrow afternoon for portions of Utah. We're tracking the flash flooding concerns the next few days coming up.
All right, Allison, thank you. The first day of school is 4 weeks away, and the Salt Lake City School District Superintendent is currently on administrative leave.
It was left up to him to decide whether to resign and be bought out of his contract or argue the case of why he should stay.
Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser was at tonight's school board meeting to find out whether Dr. Timothy Gadsden will return this school year. Emily.
Bob Kelly, the board president, says no resolution has been made. Dr. Gadsden has asked the board to mediate the dispute, and under his contract, they're required to do so. Dr. Timothy Gadsden's role as superintendent remains uncertain, and a room full of people eager to know what's next found out they wouldn't get that answer Tuesday night.
We are committed to transparency, and if there ever were to be a termination of either of our two direct employee contracts, that would be done in an open and public meeting.
In mid-July, Gadsden was put on administrative leave after the board said they received multiple complaints about him. The complaints ranged from inappropriate travel to favoritism to inappropriate workplace behavior.
We encourage the board to separate from the current superintendent as soon as possible so we can move forward.
Public speakers at Tuesday night's board meeting included community members, parents, and principals.
When our teachers asked why was he cutting teachers while at the same time increasing district administration, he abruptly and forcefully shut down the conversation, telling them they didn't understand. Teachers left feeling unheard.
Janetta Williams with the NAACP Salt Lake branch called out the board for unethical behavior. She says their actions send a message to students and families of color.
The board members are asking for complaints against Dr. Gadsden. To me, is that, if they can't control him, they want to make sure that they can get rid of him.
Gadsden moved from Minnesota to Utah and has held the position for barely a year. If he is removed, the next superintendent will be the fourth leader in the last 4 years.
They want the focus to be on the students. I don't see how having a fourth leader in such a short period of time is any way putting the focus on the students.
Specific details on those complaints have not been released by administration. Mohammed Bey, the only black member on the school board, has publicly spoken out, saying the complaints are racist. The board president says this decision-making process will have no impact on students' day-to-day experience when they go back to school on the 30th. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Emily, thank you. Going south to Utah County, we are waiting for an answer to the question in Orem of whether to put the question of splitting from the Alpine School District to the voters this November. Tonight, the City Council took public comment from a packed chamber, and we are waiting for the Council's decision. A study looked at the feasibility of a new school district in Orem, and tonight residents spoke out both in favor and against putting the idea on the ballot in November.
I have visited every school many, many times, and I'm here to tell you that Alpine School District gives support to those schools that only a large district can give.
Are we just talking about a tradition that is too big to change? I don't think so. I add my voice to those who would like.
Each one of the City Council members have had their say, and we are waiting for the vote. The mayor of Orem is speaking right now, and we are monitoring this. If the City Council approves tonight's motion, the question will go on the ballot in November. It would then be up to the voters to decide whether Orem splits from the Alpine School District to form its own district. We will continue to monitor this situation down in Orem and have the latest for you right here on Fox 13 News at 9. And if the decision comes later, it'll be online at fox13now.com.
In other news, Salt Lake City Police now investigating how a car ended up in the Jordan River. First responders got the call just before noon today. When police officers arrived, a fire department dive team was already on scene, pulling the car out with the help of these tow trucks. Police tell us the vehicle was stolen. They're now working with its rightful owner to return it.
We have no idea. There's a lot of trash in the river already, so we have no idea how it got in there. Awesome. We're just glad no one's in it.
And police say no one was hurt in this incident. In southern Utah, a lawsuit has been filed over a close state house race. Willie Billings now suing Washington County, demanding a hand recount of his race against Joseph Elison. That request was rejected by Washington County commissioners. A recount and audit of the race conducted in June found Elison won by 10 votes. The audit found no irregularities.
The mayor of Colorado City, Arizona, has quit. Mayor Joseph Allred abruptly resigned last month. His resignation letter, obtained by Fox 13 News under a public records request, says it was to pursue other opportunities. The Colorado City Town Council could see a shift toward a more secular political body in the upcoming elections. For generations, it has been dominated by members of the fundamentalist LDS Church. But community demographics have changed as more ex-members and those who don't belong to the polygamous church move in. Hilldale has seen a dramatic turnover in its political leadership. The U.S. Department of Justice successfully sued Hilldale and Colorado City, accusing them of discrimination in government services, where police were being more loyal to Warren Jeffs than to the U.S. Constitution. Both communities have instituted reforms. New at 9, police and citizens were out and about in South Jordan for a national night out against crime.
That's right. People gathered at South Jordan City Hall. They saw all sorts of cool gadgets, cars, and special gear. They also learned about police procedures and the importance of building positive relations with police.
We want everyone to feel comfortable to talk to us, and understanding more about what the department does helps people feel more comfortable when they're dealing with us outside.
Well, the event took place from 6 to 9 tonight. The U.S. Department of Justice sues the state of Idaho over its abortion law, while U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says Idaho's law is problematic.
We're not at a point of no return.
Plus, new solutions being brought forth by a top Utah lawmaker to save the shrinking Great Salt Lake. We'll explain.
Springville fire raced up the mountainside in mere minutes, with fire crews trying to catch it. But now, a day later, the cause is all anybody can talk about.
Really, without much prompting, he just said, yeah, I was up there, I had a lighter, and I was trying to kill a spider.
Ever wondered what it'd be like to be a player with the Utah Jazz? Well, you may have your chance with a new NBA fantasy camp with the Utah Jazz.
The yeas are 86, the nays are 11. Under the previous order requiring 60 votes for the adoption of this motion to concur, the motion is agreed to.
In national news, the Senate has passed the Honoring Our Pact Act. The bipartisan legislation aims to increase health care benefits for veterans exposed to emissions from toxic burn pits during their service. The passage of the bill marks the completion of a drawn-out fight to get the legislation through Congress. The bill was approved by the House last month. It now heads to the president's desk to be signed into law.
The Justice Department filed a lawsuit today against the state of Idaho over a recent law restricting abortion access. The suit is an attempt to invalidate the state's criminal prohibition on providing abortions.
Under a federal law known as the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA, every hospital that receives Medicare funds must provide necessary stabilizing treatment to a patient who arrives at an emergency room suffering from a medical condition that could place their life or health in serious jeopardy. In some circumstances, the medical treatment necessary to stabilize the patient's condition is abortion.
This is the first major action by the Justice Department challenging a state trigger law since the overturning of Roe v. Wade in June.
The Biden administration announced today a $100 million grant that will go towards strengthening Utah's infrastructure. The BRIC grant will help communities create more resilient infrastructure. A FEMA representative says when it comes to maintaining infrastructure, Utah has been exemplary.
Utah just did a wonderful job of providing applications that were relevant, that are building resilient infrastructure, and by extension, as the name says, building communities as well.
Some of the infrastructure projects helped by the grant include water distribution in Utah and Weber counties, along with earthquake retrofitting to protect the state's transit corridor. Utah Congressman John Curtis and some Utah-based Olympic athletes met today to discuss lowering emissions in the state.
The International Olympic Committee set a goal of reducing host city emissions by 50% in 8 years. Curtis, a founding member of the Conservative Climate Caucus, discussed the IOC's goal with the athletes. He also says his caucus is working with groups on both sides of the aisle.
Well, this is a really fun day for me to be out here in the beautiful outdoors, meet with people of different political persuasions and talk about something that's important to all of us.
Skiers Brody Levin and Sierra Quit, as well as Nordic athlete Jared Shoemate, were the athletes who met with Curtis. They are also part of the Protect Our Winters Action Fund.
Well, I'll tell you what, with the amount of precipitation we've had over the last 24 hours, the air is at least clean, or should be out there anyway.
Well, we'll continue with some moderate air quality the next couple of days. But speaking of the sky, we are getting so many pictures from you guys right now wondering what the heck you're seeing looking towards the northwest. So I wanted to show you a picture of it and what we believe it is, but we're waiting on confirmation from the National Weather Service. It looks like a weather balloon that they do for readings to see what's happening in the atmosphere. So if you were wondering if you saw this, we got a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. We're waiting on confirmation, but most likely is a weather balloon out in the northwest sky. But over the next couple of days, we'll have some more rain falling from the sky. Tomorrow morning, you'll start off dry. By noon, we'll start seeing a few showers into the afternoon hours. We'll keep you dry during the next few mornings with our next best chances for storms Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon. So we're going to continue with more chances for monsoon storms to bring some brief heavy rainfall. And we're going to have some temperatures that are much more comfortable this weekend after another few days of heating up. So over the Great Salt Lake right now, we do have a thunderstorm north of Antelope Island, west of Ogden and Perry right now. And into southern Utah, we've had a few thunderstorms this afternoon, but right now what we're seeing out towards about the Needles district is a few areas of lightning. So what we're going to be tracking for you the next couple of days for tomorrow, storm threat into southwest Utah. As you wake up along the Wasatch Front, partly cloudy, a really nice morning at 6 a.m., 70 degrees just about. Then by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 73 degrees here in Salt Lake City, close to 80 degrees by 10 a.m. So for the next several days, Salt Lake City, we're heating up again, especially by Thursday. That's our hottest day in our 7-day forecast, near 100 degrees. Then you'll cool down a little bit by Saturday, mid-80s. That'll be really comfortable. But overnight temps also comfortable tomorrow morning. About 65 to 75 for Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden, Eagle Mountain, Provo, and for St. George. And then tomorrow afternoon, temperatures close to 90 to 95 for the Wasatch Front for Provo, Salt Lake, and Ogden. Best chance for storms into southwest Utah, St. George, near 100 degrees tomorrow. A little above that probably. So your chance for storms in St. George isn't great over the next week, but you've got isolated to widely scattered chances your entire 7-day forecast for the most part. For Ogden, your best chance for storms will be Friday night. Beyond that, you are isolated to widely scattered basically Thursday through the rest of your 7-day forecast. And for Provo, your chance for storms also starts to go up, just not as great as Ogden for Friday night, but you'll be seeing some widely scattered to scattered storms Friday night, isolated after that. So for St. George, you're in the triple digits Wednesday and Thursday, mid-90s on Friday, close to that century mark through the rest of your 7-day forecast. And you'll have chances for storms throughout the next week. They're just pretty low chances. And for the Wasatch Front, you are sunny tomorrow, heating up into the 90s. Close to that century mark on Thursday. Chance for some storms Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, actually through the rest of your 7-day forecast. We'll talk more about our chance for rain here in Salt Lake coming up later in the hour.
All right, Allison, thanks so much. Straight ahead, a big Utah-based company is laying off employees, what we know so far.
Plus, Salt Lake County is getting more monkeypox vaccine. What you need to know about getting one.
Welcome back. 2 opioid makers have settled a lawsuit with several states, including Utah.
Under the terms of the deal, more than $6 billion will be paid to states over the next 6 years from Teva and Allergan. Utah's share will be about $72 million. The money will pay for addiction harm reduction. The settlement was negotiated by the Utah Attorney General's office and Utah's Division of Consumer Protection. Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes now joining a national anti-robocall task force. It promises to investigate and also take legal action against telecommunication companies that enable robocalls. The bipartisan task force has already issued investigative demands of gateway providers who enable foreign robocall traffic. More than 33 million scam robocalls are made to Americans each and every day.
The Salt Lake County Health Department is accepting appointments for the monkeypox vaccine. To qualify, you have to be a man or a non-binary person who has sex with men and not in a monogamous relationship. You also cannot currently have any symptoms of monkeypox. You can schedule an appointment by calling the Salt Lake County Health Department. There will also be a walk-in clinic this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Salt Lake Public Health Center. This is Salt Lake County's 3rd monkeypox vaccine clinic. The supply of vaccine has been limited across the country.
It's going to dramatically affect the quality of life of Utahns if we don't fix this.
Utah's powerful House Speaker proposes more action to save the Great Salt Lake.
Strong storms in Springville last night leave quite a mess for residents, how they're dealing with the cleanup and what damage was left behind.
A fire in Springville ran up this mountainside very quickly, but now everybody's talking about how it started.
Very unusual.
Just said, yeah, I was up there, I had a lighter and I was trying to kill a spider.
What charges this man is facing and why he says he did it, coming up.
You may have a chance to play basketball with Carlos Boozer and Darren Williams, plus Tony Finau and his thoughts on playing on a different tour.
We're going to be able to come up with strategies to help balance everyone's interest and make sure that this is not being subordinated. Right now, this is second fiddle to everything else. It can't be that way in the future.
As the Great Salt Lake continues to decline in its level, the Speaker of the Utah House is promising more action to save it.
Well, today, Speaker Brad Wilson spoke to Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow about his plans.
The lake's struggling right now.
House Speaker Brad Wilson visited his biggest constituent, at least in terms of geographic size, the Great Salt Lake. It's at its lowest level in recorded history and presents an existential threat to Utahns.
We've got thousands of square miles of exposed lake bed that are creating real risk for the residents of Utah in terms of toxic dust. The size of the lake is shortening our ski season, making our mountains have less snow, and so it's a big concern.
Earlier this year, the legislature passed a series of water conservation bills. The Speaker personally sponsored a bill to fund $40 million for environmental groups to secure water for the lake.
We're not at a point of no return.
But we are in a race against time.
My top priority as Speaker right now is to address these water needs in the state, in particular the Great Salt Lake. And the reason that it's my top priority is it's going to dramatically affect the quality of life of Utahns if we don't fix this. And so we've got to do a lot of things differently over the course of the next decade to change this trajectory.
The lake has shrunk as a result of drought, climate change, and diversion. For Utah's booming population, the Speaker says there are competing needs that need to be balanced. He plans more bills to help the lake.
You'll probably see another significant investment in conservation.
Speaker Wilson says they may invest more in new technologies to help agriculture conserve water.
They still use 2/3 or 3/4 of the water in this state. That's where a small investment goes a long way.
The Speaker says it will cost a lot of money to fix this problem.
The proactive solution is billions. The reactive solution, if we don't try to fix it, is tens and tens of billions. So let's spend the billions over the course of the next 5 to 10 years and not worry about the 30+ billion 20 years from now when it's too late.
And are you prepared as a legislative body to spend that?
Sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, And I think we're in one of those situations where we will have to figure out how to do that.
And you can expect more of those bills and funding for the Great Salt Lake when the 2023 Utah State Legislature meets in January. At Farmington Bay, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, Fox 13 News is a part of the Great Salt Lake Collaborative. It's a group of local news outlets, also academic groups and community organizations calling attention to the Great Salt Lake and solutions to save it. You can find out more by visiting the links on your screen.
Springville residents are surveying the damage and cleaning up debris after a strong storm moved through last night. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with one family who says the damage at their house happened within about 5 minutes.
It sounded like a bomb went off.
Kim Griggs was inside her Springville home with her kids and their friends watching a movie Monday night around 9 o'clock.
I called Springville police to have them come look at it. And anyways, after I got off the phone with them, I started recording. And that's when you see the 3 other explosions in the video.
Griggs says the tree outside near her backyard had come down on a power line before eventually falling into her neighbor's backyard. The front of her home also taking in some damage. Her Ring camera showed a trampoline that was in between the trucks parked out front.
You can see the damage on the side where it put a hole through our house, basically, and there's still a spring up there. But the Ring camera did pick the tramp coming up over our house and coming down and hitting both of our trucks.
Griggs says the damage is definitely visible on both of her trucks.
One of the trucks has like a hole punctured through the hood of it, and then basically both the sides though where the trampoline landed in the middle, it's banged up a lot.
Well, the storm surely packed a punch. Griggs says she feels pretty lucky that she didn't have more damage.
And that tree is giant, and if it fell any which way other than the way it did, it could have hit houses.
Well, Griggs tells me she's happy the damage wasn't much worse, but she says this is a storm she'll definitely remember for quite some time. She says she's lived in Springville her entire life and only remembers one other storm being as bad as the one she dealt with last night. In Springville, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Utah-based Nu Skin has reportedly began laying off employees.
Our content partners at the Salt Lake Tribune report the skincare product company said it would not comment on the layoffs until an earnings call on Thursday of this week. But several social media posts by now former employees indicate the layoffs are moving forward. The number of layoffs has not been released. Last month, Nu Skin CEO Ryan Napierski said the company's second quarter revenue was softer than expected due to COVID-19 complications and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But he was encouraged by growth in Southeast Asia and ongoing momentum in the U.S. Fox 13 News efforts to get Nu Skin comment for this story were unsuccessful.
Tonight, the Springville fire is holding steady at 60 acres. It is 10% contained. The man who admitted to starting the fire yesterday says he was trying to burn a spider with his lighter when the surrounding brush caught fire. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph spoke with fire crews and a spider expert.
The start is very unusual.
And really without much prompting, he just said, yeah, I was up there, I had a lighter and I was trying to kill a spider and the brush around it caught fire.
Yep, you heard that right. A man has been arrested for causing a 60-acre wildfire in Springville Monday because he tried to kill a spider with his lighter.
In these foothills, spiders, there are millions of them, I'm sure.
Sergeant Spencer Cannon with the Utah County Sheriff's Office says he's now behind bars facing criminal charges and potentially the cost of the firefight.
A Class A misdemeanor charge of reckless burning. He was also found to be in possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia.
Fairly unique in my experience over the years for human-caused incidents.
Susie Tenhagen with U.S. Forest Service is also in disbelief as crews continue to clean up the fire.
Firefighters are working to check for those hot spots to make sure that the fire isn't going to flare up.
I'm kind of sad to hear it. From my perspective, it's like there's other things that we should probably do.
Zach Schum is as close as you get to a spider expert in Utah, working with the USU Extension. He says fear often drives people to kill spiders that are harmless.
Our goal at USU Extension isn't to, shun people for doing things. It's to try to encourage folks to understand why those organisms are beneficial, why they're not harmful to humans, why they've been given kind of a bad rep throughout human history. I encourage people to let them be. Even if you see them in your house, most of the time you can just leave them there.
Only 2 spiders in Utah could cause serious issues, the black widow and the desert recluse.
Any individual coming into contact with one of these spiders is very, very small.
So in other words, there's no reason to burn any spider you find. Bottom line, be careful with open flames outdoors.
Is that area in fire restriction? Is it not in fire restriction?
Find some other way to get your entertainment other than using a heat source that could create this kind of a problem.
And don't, for whatever reason, try to light a spider on fire.
Why he did it, we don't have that question answered, and I'm not really sure I even want to try to get the answer to that because it just doesn't make sense no matter how you look at it.
Fire crews say they will continue to be on scene and put out any hot spots that come up. They don't know how long they'll be on scene, but making sure it is fully contained before they leave. In Springville, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you've wondered, Utah does have some of the highest gas prices in the nation, and they're staying high. We'll show you a couple reasons why.
And more major work is going on at Salt Lake International Airport, but you might not notice it unless you get a guided tour. We got one today, and we'll show you the river tunnel.
Welcome back, everyone. Fox 13 News has been tracking gas prices for several months now, and we've watched Utah's prices hover well above the national average, Bob.
Going in depth tonight, Kelly, Fox 13 News anchor Max Roth takes a look at prices that started high and have stayed there.
In so much of life, the higher you fly, the further you can fall. But that doesn't seem to be true of gas prices in Utah, at least not yet. We have the 9th highest price in the nation, and the price hasn't fallen as much as it has elsewhere. Say this is your car. You commute to and from work 15 miles each way, 30 total. Your car gets 30 miles to the gallon, so the commute is 1 gallon a day. Right now, that gallon of unleaded regular averages $4.80 in Utah. A 5-day work week, and that commute costs $24 for gas. 1 year ago, that gallon was $3.88. That's $19 a week, 5 less. Utah really is on a short list of expensive states for gas. Here are the 10 states paying the most for gas right now. Notice the western tilt to the map. And here are the 10 states which have had the highest prices overall this summer. Pretty similar. Now, one reason the West pays so much, the Rocky Mountains. The nation's biggest oil producers and refiners are on the other side of them in Texas and other southeastern states. Also, states west of the Rockies tend to have high gas taxes. The coastal states and Nevada are especially high. But Utah and Idaho take more taxes at the pump than our neighbors in Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. Utah's highest price was $5.26 a gallon. That was on July 1st. Today's price of $4.81 is just 9% lower. Only Idaho and Hawaii have performed worse in terms of lowering prices. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, after weeks of public comment, the Orem City Council has voted to put the question of splitting from the Alpine School District on the ballot in November.
All right, the motion passes.
Well, you heard it there. In a 4-3 vote, the council decided to let voters decide whether Orem should split from the largest school district in the state to form its own school district. While many people at tonight's meeting were in favor of the split, representatives from the Alpine District spoke against the split. To learn more about the proposed split of the school district, head to fox13now.com.
Still ahead, how women in Tooele are using their talent in fabric to bring joy and warmth to people coming to the Community Resource Center in a way that is positively Utah.
Hey, there's a chance you could see or feel what it's like to be an NBA player with some former Jazz star players. And would Tony Finau consider playing Live Golf? He'll tell us about his loyalty to the PGA Tour coming up in sports.
The Salt Lake International Airport gave us a look today at the progress on the new Central Tunnel. Now, if you're hoping for a train to ease the burden of that long walk between concourses, don't hold your breath. at least not for now anyway. That's still a couple of years down the road. But the first step is getting this tunnel built, this one right here. And it'll be at least a shorter walk between concourses than the one that we have right now. Now here's what the interior will look like in the river tunnel when it is done. Isn't that cool? Artist Gordon Huther calls it the river tunnel because it looks like you're underwater, doesn't it, Cal?
It does, yeah, it really does.
Cool?
I love that.
Now, he's the same artist, by the way, who designed the airport's main entrance.
And you look up and you can see the water and you can see the light coming through. And that's why I call it the river tunnel. So the whole idea is that it is a holistic, fully immersive experience that will make you maybe forget a little bit about being in an airport.
Yeah, now no telling what your red sweater is going to look like in the blue tunnel.
Well, I wonder if the tunnel, if it's going to be dim like that animation
that,
with the
yeah.
blue lights. That would be really cool.
Yeah, you could fall asleep while you're walking to your next flight. The tunnel is scheduled to be operational in October of 2024, so a little more than 2 years away. A train will be added after that once Concourse C is completed.
Maybe kind of hard to see, though, if it's dim. It's more like a dance club when you look at it like this in the animation.
Yeah, maybe some disco music and a disco ball. Anyway.
Well, now to a story that is positively Utah. A new homeless resource center in Tooele isn't expected to open for about another year, but neighbors they are already working to make people who will visit the shelter feel at home. The Tooele County Quilters is a group of more than 50 women who like to sew and make quilts, but they also like giving back to the community and making an impact. That's why they meet once a month to work on a project for a great cause. One of those projects is making quilts for the beds at the Harris Community Village. Karen Pinkelman is leading the effort. She says quilting holds a special place in her life.
It's very important in my life. Plus, it's a lot of therapy. You know, everybody's got challenges in their homes and with their families. And to be able to do this and work with beautiful fabrics that we work with, it's so rewarding. And you just kind of lose yourself into it and forget about your home problems.
It's such a nice hobby. Pinkelman has been charity sewing for years now. She says she is proud of the impact she gets to make while having fun with her friends.
Tracking thunderstorms right now approaching Antelope Island, just west of Hill Air Force Base, just southwest of Ogden right now. We are going to see some brief gusty conditions, some heavy rainfall with the system as it continues to move towards the southeast here along the Wasatch Front. The main story right now is Utah County a lot drier than last night. And also we're going to see that chance for the storm to bring some potentially thunderstorm activity to parts of the Wasatch Front over the next half hour or so. Into central Utah towards the West Desert, we have had a few thunderstorms creeping in from eastern Nevada, but the bigger picture here the next couple of days, temperatures are on the rise and our monsoon storms make quite the comeback, especially by Thursday and Friday. Waking up on Wednesday morning, 6 a.m., partly cloudy sky here across the state, 60s and 70s for the Wasatch Front. So a nice start to the morning tomorrow. It'll be a hot day into the 90s for the Wasatch Front with our best chance for storms tomorrow into southwest Utah. Flash flooding potential for tomorrow is probable in southwest Utah, so Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, and Zion. Probable flash flood potential. For St. George, you're close to that century mark for Wednesday and Thursday, 102 tomorrow, 100 on Thursday. You're close to that century mark for the rest of your 7-day forecast for highs, and you'll have chances for storms, although low chances, isolated storms for St. George over the next week. Here along the Wasatch Front tomorrow, 93 degrees. We'll have plenty of sunshine tomorrow. Temperatures are going to be nice during the first part of the day, and then after lunch, you're into the 90s. By Thursday, 98 degrees. Air quality the next couple of days continues to be moderate for Wednesday and Thursday for the Wasatch Front. By Friday, we do have a chance for some storms, so I want to show you how this will play out over the next couple of days. Let's go ahead and start with Futurecast paused tomorrow at 5 p.m. Chance for storms into southwest Utah. By Thursday, storms across the region, but pretty scattered in nature here across the state. By Friday, they're a little bit more widespread, and we're going to see with these monsoon storms that potential for heavy rainfall. Saturday 86, Sunday 90 degrees in Salt Lake with a chance for some storms. Temperature outlook for the 10th of August or the 16th of August keeps us hot across northern Utah, a little bit cooler into southwest Utah. And our precipitation outlook for week 2, same time frame. So after our 7-day forecast, next week we continue with a bullseye here across Utah for more monsoon storms.
Utah Jazz fans will have an opportunity to experience what life is like for an NBA player when the team holds its first ever fantasy basketball camp for adults 21 or older. It'll take place in September with 3 days of basketball, 2 nights at the Grand America Hotel. Former Jazz players Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer will be there, along with Jazz owner Ryan Smith, top executives Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck, and the Jazz coaching staff. The Utes open up fall camp tomorrow. They have some great players returning this season, including running back Tavion Thomas, who transferred to Utah last summer and quickly started earning reps and playing time. He did have a few fumbles early in the season, but head coach Kyle Whittingham didn't give up on him, and it paid off. Became a 1,000-yard rusher and a school record holder with 21 touchdowns last season. He put his NFL dreams on hold to return to Utah, and the Utes expect another great season from Thomas after spending a full off-season with the Utes.
We got him in about midsummer last year, transferred in from junior college. It always takes those junior college guys a year to get their feet on the ground and get completely acclimated, and Tavion's gone through that process, and so hopefully you're going to see a very mature Tavion Thomas from day one on.
Tough news for former Utah Ute Tim Patrick. The Denver Broncos wide receiver suffered a torn ACL injury in practice today. Caught a pass during a passing drill at practice, and his knee buckled when he turned to run upfield. Fell to the ground, was carted off the field, and an MRI later revealed the season-ending injury. Patrick led the Broncos with 5 touchdown receptions this past season. Signed a 3-year, $30 million deal in November. Tony Finau's taking the final week of the regular season on the PGA Tour off to be with his family and representatives and represent his foundation at the Utah Championship. Finau has made nearly $3 million after winning the last 2 weeks on the PGA Tour. And while some golfers are getting paid more on the Live Golf tournament event, Finau was asked if these back-to-back wins gives him more loyalty to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. To me, at this point in my career, it's so much about the satisfaction of winning golf tournaments and winning against the best players in the world, what I feel like is the best tour in the world. And the satisfaction that comes from that, no amount of money can buy. After all these years of working hard and now being at my best that I've ever been, to have the opportunity to reap some of the rewards from just the fulfillment of playing and winning, there's really no amount that can, I think, sum up how that feels.
We'll be right back.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
QuickCast is up next.